2. It says that we are live for the October 2024 Westlake Charter School Board meeting. Board President Golick, you have the YouTubes.
Thank you. Welcome to our meeting. If you're home watching on YouTube, please know you can still submit a public comment via email to admin@westlakecharter.com. If you could put the matter you're commenting on in the subject line and then keep your written text to 250 words, we'll make every effort to read them into the meeting. If they by chance are not read, we will definitely make them part of the minutes. With that, Amy, will you please take the roll?
Yes. Hope.
Here.
Sean.
Here.
Josh.
Here.
Amber.
Here.
Suzanne.
Here.
Nurali. Amy. Good. You have the floor.
Perfect. Thank you. John, would you like to start with the celebration?
I would like to start the celebration. We've invited out Dr. Ann Vu, former Westlake Charter School board member, because she's just recently left our board, and we'd like to just celebrate you for your service to our school, to our community. We are eternally grateful for your service on the board, for you being a part of a decision-making body that made some pretty big decisions. I mean, while you sat on this board, we purchased a parcel of land, we opened up a high school. A lot has gone down during your tenure, and we are certainly thankful for your service. So we have a little plaque for you here, and we just want to say thank you very much. Big round of applause for Dr. Andrew. Thank you, sir. I'll take one of those. All right, man, keep rocking on third base over there. See you. All right, now let's have some celebrations from the team. What do you got out there?
Well, I'll use the same celebration and go first again.
Ah.
So last night I was honored to get to attend senior night for girls volleyball. 11 seniors? 13? 11?
We're on the spot now. 11?
11 seniors. Yeah, it was a lot, but it was amazing to see all the families and the cheering section decked out in pink for Pink Out, and just the passion for the game. It was a wonderful night.
Very good. Josh, you want to celebrate?
I'm going to celebrate esports.
Yeah, let's go. Oh, turn your mic on. Turn your mic on.
Celebrate esports, particularly middle school esports. I've got a esportian who loves it. And the biggest thing I take away from it, he's having a blast, but he comes back and says, Dad, do you know where Westlake is ranked? Even though they're all ranked individually, I'll be honest, Westlake is literally the top 10. But he comes home and that's what he leads with. Do you know where the team is? So even though it's, very individualized, that's the part I hear him singing loud and clear when he comes home. So I want to celebrate esports and what they're doing.
Yeah, our middle school esports competitors are competing in a league with, I think, over 80 other competitors, and we hold all top 10 spots or close to, I think, the number 2 spot is a kid out of Utah. And then our high school esports is incredibly competitive, and we're in year 2 of that team, and they've doubled inside and had cuts this year, right? Whereas in first year, we're just trying to get someone to play. Year 2, hey, sorry, you got to try out for the team. So super exciting.
That one's Mario Kart, right?
Mario Kart is the middle school one.
Middle school, right?
And then high school has 2 seasons now. They're playing League of Legends on the PC, right? And then they're also playing Smash Bros on the Switch. I just like saying it, Smash Bros. That's
I love that one because
British
I have
pronunciation.
a college student who is happily competing in
Oh.
Smash Bros. At
Smash
college.
Bros, there we
And
go.
So, I mean, as much as it sounds like a game, talk about a lifelong, like a college social connection.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Like esports, they transcend.
It's
But-
the real deal. I'm telling you, esports it's the real thing, man. It's real. Mr. Corby, you want to play?
I will play one. I will also shout out to senior night last night of the volleyball game, but also a special shout out to the high school student leadership, Abby Grimaldi, and all the staff and students who made it very special for all the athletes. It was a great night. It was a fantastic night for everyone there. So shout out to them specifically. Thank you.
It's good stuff. Good stuff.
I want to celebrate the girls JV volleyball last game. I think it was on Monday. It's been a long week. But it was really exciting just to see them win their last game. And I was super proud because my daughter, I think, served the last 2 points in both of the games.
Oh.
So we were really, really proud. It was a great season.
Love it. Sean Berman.
I'll celebrate apparently the change of the season like today.
As of today.
I completely changed my outfit between this morning and this evening because I was freezing, and it's kind of nice to be
You can do nothing about it. Yeah, right. Yeah, sweater weather.
Okay, I have two middle school boys, and there's a dance tomorrow.
Yeah, there
here
is.
At this campus.
Let's go.
Yes, they have a lot of different feelings about it, but it's exciting, and I'm very appreciative to everyone involved for making these kind of things available for our kids.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, Debbie, want to play?
Yes, I will celebrate our amazing first grade teachers. Today was Mix It Up Day at school, and our first grade teachers went to lunch with their students and got in the mix. So the way that we do it is each student gets a Jolly Rancher as they come in, and the color of the Jolly Rancher matches the balloons at a table. So they are just randomly sitting with kids that they don't normally sit with, and the teachers sat in there with them, and there were questions at each table for them to ask, because it's awkward to talk to people you don't know, except for me, who can talk to anybody anywhere.
Yes, you can.
But yeah, so I just love our first grade teachers jumping in with Mix It Up Day.
Yeah, I love it. I typically don't buy into the, school ranking reports from different online magazines and newspapers that don't really know what they're talking about. I just don't. But I would celebrate that, this little online ranking website called Niche. They rank schools based on test scores and other things, other metrics that they pull, and they create a top 100 schools list in the state of California, and then each county has its county rankings. And Westlake Charter Schools Middle School is ranked as the number 5 middle school in Sacramento County. And I thought, that's out of 13 districts and 23 charters. That's nearly 50 or so middle schools out there. To call our middle school top 5, I'm like, I'd have given us top 2, but I'll take top 5. It was nice. We were the only Natomas school in the top 5 in the middle schools, and I was going to build a slide, but I didn't want to credit this this online, ranking system too much, but I loved it. I think our middle school is crushing right now. As we look at data tonight for our academic report, some of our, most positive outcomes right now are happening in the middle school. The vibe on the middle school is on point. Our entire middle school, all 12 of our middle school teachers who are there right now, were there last year. So it's a strong team right now.
I feel a little weird you texting it to you.
Yeah, I know. We're like, we don't really like these, but this is cool, right? Yeah. We both were like, I don't really like these rankings, but it's cool, we're in it. Yeah.
Well, I'm the competitive one, so coming from me, I felt like it wasn't particularly surprising, but still.
That's so good.
I just want to do one quick additional celebration.
Sure.
Assuming it passes on consent tonight. We have Sally Hubbard in the audience, likely to be our newest board member later this evening. I just want to celebrate you and thank you for coming.
Yeah, glad you're here, Hubba.
Board comments for items not on the agenda. Seeing none,
Sorry.
we can cut to Mrs. Cahigas at the high school campus while John looks for any email public comments. Ashley, do you have anyone there to comment?
No one at the doors. Let me look on the cameras. No, nobody's here for public comment.
Thank you.
That would have been super creepy if you saw something on the cameras, like in the comments.
Yeah, I kind of worry, especially now that it's darker sooner. Yeah. And I'm sitting out here, which I don't normally do in the winter. I sit in the other office with the cameras, so that's what I'll be. I'll be in the other office next month.
We love it. Thank you, Ms. Keegan. Appreciate you. And no public comments on the email.
Perfect. Is there a wave report?
There is a wave report. I can bring it up and play it via video. Unfortunately, our wave president couldn't make it tonight, but he did send me a video. So when I say I have 88 slides, I really only have 87. Board meeting, here we go.
Hi, Westlake Board. This is Felix Flores, Wave President here. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make the meeting today. I was in New York last month. This month, I'm actually at home, but on dad duty. My wife is away in New York. I've got 3 kids, and there wasn't a way for me to break away. But I still wanted to give you an update. Our biggest kind of things to highlight is last month, the Olympic Triathlon and the kind of Fall Festival, as well as the small tidbits that come in his way. So let me kick this away while I've got your attention and time. This year's Olympics Triathlon, we raised $41,000, which was our goal was $40,000, so we're happy to beat that. One of our other highlights was that we had over 350 students participate in the fundraiser. This was up from the 225 from last year. We really wanted to push participation as well as hitting our fundraising goal as big priorities for this year, and to see it kind of go up from 225 to 350 was a big deal. We had almost 90 students hit the 180 individual goal. Those students actually got customized t-shirts that are being printed right now and are going to be on their way hopefully by the end of the month. And then we had 8 classes overall that hit 50% participation on the K through 8, and we ended up wanting to be able to shout out all the high school students that did get participation in OT. However, I should note that there were a little bit over 20 students overall that participated in the high school and Olympic triathlon overall of the 350. And so I think there's still work for us to next year to get high school students involved or decide whether that's something we still want to impact. We were 4 classes away from 100% school participation this year. So we almost had a single student from every single class, including high school advisory and middle school advisory, be involved. On the volunteer side of things, I think we had 78 volunteers this year. From what I've been told from feedback, this was our smoothest running Olympic triathlon in years, if not ever. We took pride in being able to kind of make sure that volunteers had a great experience. There at some point that we were turning away volunteers from the field and putting them into our art and Spanish activities. The feedback overall we've had on a scale of 1 to 5, everyone has rated. It has given us feedback a 4 or 5 on excellence or strongly agreed excellence for our operations, and then every single one of the volunteers that have replied to the survey said that they would love to refer a friend to be able to volunteer with them next time. And so we hope to kind of have this grow. OT, I think overall was a big success. There's still some learned lessons and areas to improve for the future. That will come up in planning sessions over the next few months as we start to get ourselves ready. The second thing to kind of bring up for y'all is Fall Festival. Fall Festival is happening on October 26th from 3 to 6 p.m. at the K-8 campus. We're expecting 300 to 350 families to show up. We'll probably need somewhere around the line of the same number of Olympic triathlon volunteers for Fall Festival, somewhere between 75 and 85 volunteers. We're hoping that we can get some returnees from OT to come into the Fall Festival. Big highlights and changes from this year is that we have a haunted house. There'll be an esports tournament in the gym. Silent auction is still going to go off as it always does. And then we'll have art activities, games, and food for folks as well. I'm leading right now Fall Festival as a substitute for Tony Elgamil, who unfortunately had a family medical emergency, had to step down as committee chair. So please give your well wishes to Tony and her family. We are on path right now from an operation plan to get us where we need to be. A couple of things that we need to fill out still from a logistics and facilities point of view, but we're overall working in a great direction for what we need to do for this year. Other than that, I would say we are close overall to committing to our $43,000 or transferring our $43,000 commitment to Westlake as part of our budget commitment. That was kind of informed to me last month. So excited OT has pretty much picked up the boost of that. And then from there, we have our coffee talk next Thursday, in the morning at the K-8 campus. And then after October, it tends to be a little bit of a slower time for WAVE, where we can do some planning, readjustments, and then get kind of our smaller themed events like movie night, I think science night, and a family dance that's happening in January as well. As always, if you have any questions for me, feel free to reach me at wavewcs@gmail.com. Hopefully some of y'all can volunteer or donate to, Fall Festival. But other than that, have a great evening and look forward to having any questions that you need to reach me by email. Take care.
Okay. We'll shout out there. Mr. Flores.
Thank you.
Cool.
Josh, Development Committee.
Development Committee, yes. So we met, we certified our goals, we have,
Oh, hit the microphone. Oh, it's on.
first day. So Development Committee met, we finalized our goals. We've got, things rocking and rolling. You'll see on the consent agenda, we've got a couple of donations from giving funds. which are parents linking up with companies that match or give to the school, so that's rocking and rolling. We will be starting our Giving Tuesday campaign on November 19th. And we do International Festival. Once we get done with the International Festival, where do we go from there? Sean, it's not cold out, right? It's chilly.
Oh.
It's chilly. We got chili cook-off coming December 4th.
Props.
Get
I
ready.
love props.
We are going to have our board booth. All are welcome to join. We have yet to beat the kids ever.
We're not allowed to compete.
Well, the kids don't know that. Come on, it's a lot of fun. We've got our train, because it's all aboard the chili train. And we have a lot of fun, and we talk about the board and try to just increase our presence, you know, see if anybody has any committee interests, things like that. But more than anything, we just had a lot of fun. So I welcome anybody on the board that wants to join us. Development committee will be doing our thing. So that's the development committee update.
Love it. Hopefully everybody else brought props for their presentations tonight. Awesome.
And clearly I'm not competitive.
Not at all.
Not at all. I put you on the impact report, John, but I'm happy to say that they didn't have quorum last month, and so no update. Sean in finance.
So in finance, we voted on our goals for this year. So those are, as it happens, they're the same as last year, so that's easy. And they can be found online. And we continued our yearly review of certificated compensation.
Governance met tonight right before this meeting. We had the opportunity to make final revisions to the educational records and student information policy, as well as the independent study policy. And those will come back to the board for adoption next month at our meeting. We also had the chance to talk about our upcoming review of the uniform complaint policy, review of the comprehensive school safety plan, as well as an initial review of both governance, ED, and board goals. Got some really good feedback, and we'll hopefully bring the whole package of goals back to the board next month. With that, John, your report.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here. As you'll recall, here on the board website, down here in our little board calendar, October is when we do our academic report out. And so I'll have my regular celebrations, strategic actions, and updates, but then I'll also be doing my academic report built into the executive director's report tonight. So we will dive in. And with that slide above there down, there's only 87 slides. This will just roll right by. All right, let's dive in and have a little bit of fun. High school conference week is happening right now. We got some good picks there. Some people were at conferences today, and it's a great vibe. You know, it's different, the K-8 versus the high school conference vibe, but I was actually having the opportunity to collaborate with Lila McIver, our principal, and her mentor as part of her Tier 2 credentialing process. And we were talking about like how to plug community into high school. And this person who is this mentor from the Sacramento County Office of Education is a high school principal and doesn't have 2 conference weeks per year. And we talked about what an awesome opportunity we have as a high school to keep this family connection going, not once, but twice per year. And the fact that we have such high attendance really speaks to the connectedness of our community. Of course, celebrated some bingo night where Ms. Gallenbohr was our, what do you call a bingo caller? There's a name for that? I think she was just a bingo caller. She loves it, though. Tell her she did a great job. She'll love it. International Walk to School Day, super fun. A bunch of our staff members were a part of the International Walk to School Day festivities, which is always led by our amazing Jive partners, and we're so excited about partnering with them. This is what type of ink? Squid ink, that's right. Those are 4th graders who are dissecting squids. It's just one of our favorite in-room field lessons, right? It's one of our just cool projects, hands-on projects that our kids love to do. You know, I look across the K-8, really the K-12 continuum, and there's all these rites of passage, you know? Right, there's the kindergartners lose the gingerbread man. At some point, we all go, oh, where's the gingerbread man? And there's something about dissecting a squid. If I have to walk by there one more time, I don't smell it, though. I gotta tell you, it's great. It is joyful learning. I love it. It's great. Olympic Triathlon was awesome this year. We are celebrating our 20th year of joyful learning, and so the art project was kind of thematically around that, and the on-campus events were a ton of fun, and we are very grateful. I mean, we raised over $40,000 through our families and had over 300 kids participate in the fundraising, so super big shout out to them. But yeah, I loved having the event on campus this last month. We had homecoming spirit week and dance at the high school. Does everybody know what sport we played for homecoming? Yeah, we played a little flag football, man. It was awesome. They went out there and just tore it up. We have some really good flag football players, it turns out. Yeah, our freshmen played the sophomores and the juniors played the seniors, or some version of that. And I think the freshmen cleaned up. And the freshmen and the juniors, yeah, the young spry. You see, people get old, they slow down. We had cheerleaders out there. It was really, our kids are the best, man. Our high school kids are just phenomenal. So the whole thing was a class act all the way from the Spirit Week dress-up days to the dance to the rally to the flag football. First grade, life long ago, happens every year, but it's just, again, one of those rites of passage, one of those cool things that happens on our campus between the life long ago unit in first grade and in second grade, when they celebrate Grandparents' Day, and we had, all these grandparents come in and kids ask questions like, did you really have a phone that went like this? Like, what is this, right? It's just so great, bringing our community together and studying social science and history, through actually real narratives. Such great stuff. Second grade participated in a Jive pedestrian education program. Man, Jive is everywhere because we also have right now, and I think we'll be celebrating it in next month's slide deck, the Jive Project Ride Smart, which is just also a fantastic program. But look at all these ways our kids are really impacted by our school community collaboration, right? When we talk about Jive, that is a community collaboration, right? They're not funded by us, they're not part of our school, but look at all the enrichment they bring to our school. And here it is. It's been celebrated several times tonight, but girls volleyball senior night. Now, this is our first ever senior night of any sport. True story, right? And then I think boys soccer has a senior night Monday. Yeah, so it's on, right? We have seniors, and we're starting to start these traditions for what does it mean to be a senior. And what happened on senior night, Steve? Like, I wasn't there because I was at the boys soccer game. Like, did the seniors get to walk out and?
Yeah, so seniors walked out.
Hit the mic.
Seniors walked out. Their coach said some words about that. There was a balloon arch. Families
Cool.
came down, kind of met them at the arch with signs and blaze and things like that, and pictures were taken. So yeah, it's just a really nice evening. So yeah.
And then I guess the tradition is to go out and absolutely smash your opponent, like in 3-0. Is that what happened?
0, but some close games.
Oh, is it some close games? Okay. I just saw 3-0 on the text stream. I'm like, oh, and apparently seniors were like, which was wild because these girls were very competitive in the last couple of years against other varsity squads, even without having seniors.
Well, if I may, can I talk about the second photo? Can I do
You
that
may,
one?
you may.
We have not celebrated that yet
We have not,
tonight.
but yes, if you'd
But
like
I
to,
think
please
if
go
you
ahead.
don't mind. So the shirts the girls are wearing in the larger photo, are their 3-time champ shirts. And part of the celebration last night was putting the 2024 up on our championship banner. And so it was this really great sort of culminating moment. And Coach even mentioned, right, freshman year, like, it's okay, we'll be back, we got this. And this team managed to come back the next 3 years and win their league.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's special. Love it. All right, well, I'm going to dive into some strategic actions, followed up by updates, my strategic actions updates. I'm trying to keep somewhat tight because I have a academic report tonight, but I did want to kind of unpack this. I actually launched in October last year a slide regarding Everest Academy. And what is Everest Academy? What are we trying to accomplish with it? And why are we utilizing it? And now I kind of want to bring it back and tell you where we are a year later. We've made incredible progress. We're doing some really cool stuff with it. So this is a professional development ecosystem that houses our WCS best practices. So while we could go out to the Sacramento County Office of Education and purchase like modules of learning from them, these online modules aren't like, I mean, they're innovative, but they're being done other places. You could purchase them. but we are housing our best practices. When you open up one of our learning modules, you're gonna see Sally Hubbard on the video, right? You're gonna see, our teachers teaching one another what our best practices are. So that's what makes this platform so unique, I think, for us. Here's some key accomplishments from this year. All of our first 5 materials during the first 5 days of the school year for all of our onboarding and training, all were facilitated through Everest Academy. So a very nice linear access to all the materials. If you've wandered off and like, oh, where was that one thing? It's right here housed where you received that. We facilitated 3 full days of a new teacher and intern teacher onboarding through Everest with lots of video evidence of like how we do what we do and the way we do. What I've heard from some of our onboarding coaches this year is that because we did that, our new teachers are already a couple steps ahead of the game. They're asking good questions about practices that we utilize because they learned those practices from our staff in those first 3 days in a unique way. In our strategic plan, it calls out that we should be using professional learning communities to analyze data. It's really hard though to not only roll that out each year for a staff, but roll it out each year when you have new people onboarding. And by housing these mini lessons inside Everest, we've been able to say, hey, here's a mini lesson on how to analyze English learner data. Here's a mini lesson on how to analyze CASP data. Here's a mini lesson on how to analyze NWA data. So really proud of that work because it's helped us this year, but we think next year and the following years, it's really gonna be a home run. Our classified staff are using Everest Academy. So they facilitated first 5. We've done some intervention training, some behavior training. I think the team is putting together a para-educator academy inside there. So when you onboard a new instructional aide for special education, they'll be able to be trained up in the way we do what we do. Just so much good stuff. Imagine hiring somebody in October. Who has time to train that person? We're all busy. But now you can say, hey, go jump into Everest, get trained up, then ask good questions as you come on late. And then this month, our certificated staff are launching multiple 6-part learning series, and I'll unpack those here. Current things in the works, we have a builders cohort. So great, we spent 2 years building all this material. Well, we've only funded it for 2 years, what happens next year? Well, we are training builders now to build content. So we have 7 teachers in a builders cohort who are starting to learn how to build the next year's content. So if we keep building it internally, it's a self-perpetuating ecosystem of professional learning. We also have a K-5 math series under development right now, led by Danielle Rojo, which is good stuff. I want to lean on these 6-part learning series because I want you to recognize these are like, there's the must-dos and the may-dos in life, right? What must you do, what may you do? These are like, if you're going to be a veteran Westlake teacher, you probably have a firm grasp on all 3 of these concepts. So we look at this as you onboard people to the organization over a 3-year period, they should take one of each of these series. This is GLAD, right? Guided Language Acquisition and Design. We utilize GLAD to create thematic units throughout our K-5 to really focus on English language acquisition for our English learners. However, GLAD strategy is just awesome for all kids. And we see a lot of our best units of study at K-5 really kind of GLADified. So you may not know you're engaged in a GLAD designed unit, but if you're engaged in a pictorial input chart, if you're engaged in some of these strategies, you're learning because we're trained in it. Well, at one point, I think a decade ago, all of our K-5 teachers were trained in GLAD. Here we are a decade later, you were trained by a person who was trained by a person who was originally trained 10 years ago in GLAD. But we haven't sent everybody off to be trained in GLAD again. But now, every person for the next 5 years will be trained by the exact same training schedule. So we're super excited about that. GLAD's really appropriate K-5, and we've always wondered if we're going to bring it up to 6-8. And even when Kim Erickson was on the board, we kind of noodled with, are we bringing GLAD up to 6-8 or not? QTEL has come along, quality teaching for English learners, and really said, hey, we're a middle school, high school version of GLAD. We are a framework that's going to help you. So Jessica Ashby and Reese Ornelas are leading this project and building out this QTEL series. So teachers can opt in. Hey, I'd like to do GLAD K5 or I'd like to do QTEL. If those aren't your jam, we have these proactive techniques to craft student behaviors. We recognize right now, post-pandemic, every administrator I talk to says, yep, behavior's a thing. We're grappling with new behaviors. And so we have taken the time to build a very comprehensive 12-hour, 6-part series around behavior. And I think we have over 20 teachers enrolled in that series right there. You know, this last one is Universal Design for Learning. It's about including all students in the way you design your lessons, your curriculum, your instruction, your assessment. It's about designing for all. If you take a look at these 4 components, really take the 2 together as one. English learners, behavior, and universal design. What do they have in common? They should address kind of these basic tier 1 needs of all of our students in some way. And what we're doing is saying, hey, we're getting back to an era at Wesley Charter School where we're all learning together, we're all sharing our best practices together, and we hope that that work increases student outcomes across the board. So we're just really proud of this work. Want to show you what it looks like to be engaged in a 6-part series. Like here's, say you're in GLAD. What's unique about this experience? Well, first of all, you're in a self-selected learning cohort. All these people chose to be in this room. So I didn't say, hey, you're doing GLAD and you're doing something you've already done before, but I'm putting you in there anyway. Right? That one-size-fits-all PD is not what we're doing. You get to choose where you want to be. So this is a self-selected cohort, and you have a facilitator, but that facilitator is not inherently more expert than anyone else. They are really a guide on the side facilitator, and what they have is they have these celebrity experts. I think that might be Hubba Bubba right there, and that might be Jessica Ashby. Yeah, that's awesome. That worked out great. So here you have the celebrity experts on the screen, and these are your colleagues looking at the screen going, okay, somebody I trust is telling me how they do what they do. So we think it's a real formula for a successful cohort of learners. I'm going to step out of this 6-week learning series. Any thoughts, any questions, any concerns, anything you want to ask about these series or anything else Everest Academy related? Cool. What do you guys think about doing a board onboarding module? So we're like, hey, here's Brown Act. Here's how you read a budget. Here's how you, right? So you all just volunteer to be in a video. Good job.
Or if we do when we do the cohort this year, I think it'd make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Cohort learning series.
I love it. So we build it in Everest and launch our cohort from Everest. Love it so much. It's great. I love it.
Brown Act will be in there someday.
We're all in a video coming at you. All right, updates. Yeah, I just thought I'd do a little bit of a strat plan review, a couple of things that I was noodling on. I thought, well, gosh, we haven't, I know we've said this, but we haven't said it through this context. Goal 1, Objective 6 is that we will expand our program through 12th grade. And here we are. We're having senior night, We have expanded through 12th grade. As you look through our strategic plan, there are over 28 objectives, and we can check some boxes. Like that box, I know it says consider. Let's just consider it. Okay, now we'll check. Check the box. I just think it's exciting. I mean, I know it's hard to see on the screen right now, but that is, what is it, 160 staff members right there. Like we are, we have expanded to K-12. Objective 2, WCS staff will use the professional learning communities model of collaboration. And, we were really on track on 2019. Sally Hubbard had led us through a lot of the common assessment buildings, and then we hit the pandemic. I feel like we're on the comeback right now through the work that Jen Kayau and Heather Chastain are doing in Everest. I feel like it's bite-sized enough. We're seeing the work. Every single one of our teaching teams on the K5 or K8 side of the house have really dug into their data in new and exciting ways because of the work that's being done here. So I think not so much checkbox like it's done, but progress monitoring. This goal is back on track, and it took a few years in the middle of the pandemic where we're like, okay, we were in survival mode, but now we're back in focusing on what do we want our students to learn, how do we know they learned it, and what do we do if they did or didn't learn it. I just think this blueprint piece from goal area 3, I keep talking about Everest Academy, but look at how much we have documented. These are best practices. Our original blueprint document was a document, right? It was a 23-page PDF. They kind of, you can put on a shelf and go, yep, there it is. But this is like a living, breathing document. Over 20 learning series of curriculum instruction, behavior, artificial intelligence, technology, inclusion, all being built. These are our best practices, and you can click on them and bring them to life in video, read, podcast, auditory learners. We have 3 types of learning inside here. We have quick bites, which are 5-minute bites. Anybody see them in the Westlake Weekly? Some of the Westlake Weekly readers? Yeah, you get little quick bites, 5-minute quick bite of instructional best practices, kind of in-time learning. You have these modules, which are 2 parts. It's 4 hours. 2 hours this day, 2 hours this day. And now we have these 12-hour or 6-part series that we're utilizing. So I'm really excited that the blueprint has morphed into a professional learning opportunity that's going to take us to the next level. And then objective 5, create opportunities for students and staff to build relationships in an effort to learn from others around the globe. This is, it's hard to zoom in, but it says Grimaldi right there. Senora Grimaldi and I and Hope have been talking about sending kids to Costa Rica for a long, long time. I think somewhere in the strat plan it says we might own a piece of property in Costa Rica someday with a little international school on it. Yeah. Hey, we got 20 years. It's way deep in the strat plan. But it is cool. I mean, think about it, right? We've been doing field lessons as part of Westlake Charter School for the 20 years that we've been open, and this is our first international excursion. So our place in the global world is about to get real over February break. Is that right? February break? Yeah, I think we should go. I mean, you guys want to go with 20 high schoolers to Costa Rica? That sounds amazing. Anyway, I just think it's kind of cool. Again, it's just the first of many opportunities as we have a high school to see where these kids and these teachers take us. So super cool stuff. I'm going to dive into academic report. Any questions, thoughts, or concerns about updates that I covered? All right, let's dive in. Let's have some fun. All right, this is the academic report for 2024. You recognize the great state of California up there on the left, and you recognize that English, language, arts, and mathematics are the 2 areas currently. It's about to change to science also. The 2 areas currently that the state seems to care more about than art and other things that we all love. This is the percentage of students who meet or exceed, right? So there are 4 areas you can either meet or exceed, and that's will get you the number over here. So back in 22, 47% of California students met or exceeded in English language arts and 33% math. And we'll roll forward, 47-35, 47-36. Pretty flat on the ELA, much like our own. And then a little bit of increase in math, and ours actually decreases over that same time, which is interesting for us to look at. So let's look at that. Great state of California. When we have these numbers 0 and +1, that's comparing it to the previous year. So there are 0 + 1 or a 47-36. Everybody knows what that is? Alaska, right? It's the Sacramento County. Sacramento County is a 44-33, and there is 0-0, which is wild, right? There are zero growth, completely flat. That is the Natomas Unified School District, 16,000 students, and there are 43-29. There are +2, +1, and we are a 0, -5. That is a. We cannot find the bottom on this math slide. We've been sliding for a couple years on math, and 26 slides from now, we're going to see that since 2019, which is right going into the pandemic, we were 13 points higher than we are today. So we've lost 8 points, and then just this year, 5 more. Wild. We'll talk about what we think the why is. We'll talk about how we measure it. We'll talk about what we're doing, and we'll talk about how we compare to other schools. There's a couple ways to look at this. I am such an optimistic person, I think, in so many ways. When we report this, I'm always so pessimistic, so I'm like, somebody might look at this slide and say, yeah, don't focus on the -5. Focus on the fact you're outperforming all the other people. But I just can't. I just can't. I look at us and go, I know we can do better. And I recognize why we are where we are and where we are. But, we can't ignore the fact that we've had some slide and we're trying to grow back now. So let's dive in and take a look at what else we need to know. Starting next year, we're going to start adding science to this metric, which is super cool. Now, this year, it's going to come out as a single score. 46% of our students met or exceeded. You're not going to see the growth metric, like the 5x5, right? Where it's your score plus whether or not you grew. But next year, it will. So right now, we're at 46. Maybe that means we're a green, a yellow, an orange, a blue. We don't know yet until we see the 5x5 chart. But this year's only on score. Next year, we'll be on score plus growth. So remember, in science, we're only testing 5th graders, 8th graders, and 11th graders. And in CASP, on English, Language, Arts, and Math, we are testing who? Who's our youngest? 3rd grade. Who's our oldest? 11th. And what grades are we not testing at the high school? 9, 10, and 12. So we're only testing 11th grade at the high school. So you are 3rd through 8th here, then jump to 11th grade. Right, but here in science, it's going to be 5, 8, 11. Okay? Let's take a look at this. I love to compare us against our neighbors, and I've come up with a new comparisons list that I'm going to ask for some input on tonight. It's really tricky, though. All of the comparison schools are K-12s, because we're at K-12 now. So this is our first K-12 model. All of them have some comparable demographic information. Each is located regionally, but not necessarily locally. Whereas our old one was like, you can walk to the other schools. This one's got some walkable schools, but like we lose Heron, right? Heron's not on the map anymore. Although we compared them so well demographically, they don't have 11th grade scores, so we can no longer compare them. So let's play a little bit. Let's play a little game. The game is, do you know which K-12 school is yours? Feel free to play along. Socioeconomically disadvantaged, 32, 57, 38, 40, 44, 41. So SED. Remember, socioeconomically disadvantaged is not free and reduced lunch. Free and reduced lunch is an indicator of socioeconomically disadvantaged, but socioeconomically disadvantaged also includes, anybody have any guesses on what else it includes? Parent education level. If your parents, one or both, did not graduate from high school, the assumption is you're socioeconomically disadvantaged. Foster youth status, migrant youth status, and homeless status also play into socioeconomically disadvantaged. So there's your numbers there. Students with disabilities. Interesting because not all special education programs are created equally, but we do measure it by how many students with disabilities you have enrolled in your school. And English learners. Do you yet know, don't shout it out, just like, do you know which one's you? There will not be prizes. All right, I'm going to move on to ethnicity. Maybe this will give it away. 14, 18, 5, 10, 1, and 1. Hispanic. Asian. White students. Okay, this next one I think is enrollment, and it like gives it away. So, do you know what school is yours? I think so. Okay, do you think you know? Do you think you know? You got a guess? All right, I'm not gonna ask you to say it out loud because we're on YouTube. People are like, well, how come they didn't know? All right. Oh, that's not it. I thought that was enrollment. My bad. There's two more races. Enrollment. If you didn't know, now you probably know. We're not 16,000 students. This, by the way, I'm sorry. These are numbers from the previous year before we had seniors, so that's why it's 1382. So we are the alpha school there. The kids will probably love when I say that. We are the alpha, and we are these demographic indicators here. I'm going to go to this new chart here where I've put all demographic indicators. Sorry, the font got smaller, but I would like to stop and host a little what do you notice, what do you wonder, because you can see Black Oak and Durham are pulled in because some of their demographic indicators are close to ours. They're a small K-12 organization, or small-ish. There are students with disabilities, they're socioeconomically disadvantaged, it's a little bit of EL here, but on the ethnicity piece, it's not super close. It's a little topsy-turvy over there. Who do we compare most closely to and why? or who on this chart do we not compare closely to for you and why? I'll give you a example. I think we compare closely to NUSD because the 14 and 18% African American are the closest to African American comparisons across the whole chart. So I think we compare closely to NUSD. Who do you think we compare closely to or not compare closely to, and why?
Well, we don't compare closely to MP3.
We don't compare closely to MP3, and why? Like one indicator.
Asian?
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? Because we know when it comes to test scores, your Asian students are your highest performing students in the state of California as a subgroup, and having almost half your school population Asian is an interesting, and that's grown. I was looking at their numbers from 2019, and they've grown by almost 20 points since 2019. I think that's a really interesting indicator.
I would say Black Oak.
And why?
Well, they certainly don't have the same, I want to say, ethnic diversity
Yeah.
as we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it striking on like socioeconomics, right? We're more in there, but then it falls back off with English language learners.
Yeah, sure. Right. Well, and they have a high
Very
white
interesting
population.
breakdown.
And they could, if they had because you say, oh, they have a high white population, so they're not going to have a lot of English learners. But then you go, well, over in Twin Rivers, the high white population also has a lot of Ukrainian students and Russian students. Yeah. So it could have that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I think the the ethnic diversity doesn't match. These two are somewhat intriguing. This students with disabilities and SED. But yeah, okay, Black Oak. Who else does or doesn't compare with us, and why?
And Thomas Charter School is similar.
Yeah.
It goes back and forth pretty closely.
Yeah, and their data shifted recently. I've been looking at their data because, when you look at, I'll show you later our data from 2019, how our school has really diversified our enrollment. And the Thomas Charter School, good on them. They've started to go that route too. It's interesting. So yeah, their demographics are starting to look more like ours, and we are starting to look more like our authorizing district. It's interesting. I think we actually look most like the Thomas Unified School District,
Yeah.
which is wild. It's wild to say that because I go, hey, we line up here, here. You're within 4 points here, 3 points here. You're dead on here. This is the big shift, right? They are 25 points on socioeconomic disadvantage. That's the big difference, and that has a big impact for sure on test scores. But we're close here. And what I would say here is this, and this is really important. We're a full inclusion model. We can do anything we want. We can't do everything we want. We make our choices, right? We have 11% of our students with disabilities. They have 13% of their students with disabilities. These guys here have 8% with disabilities, but they don't have an SDC program. So meaning any student who comes in with an extensive need, student with Down syndromes, moderate, severe, autism spectrum disorder, that student wouldn't go to that school. That student would go back to the Natomas Unified School District. So when you're looking at like test scores and comparability, you go, well, 11% of our 11%. So of these kids, 11% of these kids are students who qualify as having extensive needs. None of these kids, nor probably these kids, and I don't know these programs over here, but I just think it's, when you get into these comparisons, like, it's hard to find good comparable data, especially with schools in Natomas because we're so diverse.
I want to acknowledge that I did not pick the right school.
Good job.
And I'm going to, because, honestly, because you opened with socioeconomic.
Yeah.
And so I had originally thought we fell higher than 32%. In fact, my wonder out of this is I'm very surprised to be the lowest of all the comparables.
On the SED, yeah. So a little bait and switch there. I apologize. We have been talking a lot about unduplicated rates lately. In the last 5 years, we've been talking about unduplicated pupil counts, which were 40% unduplicated. And at one point, our ed data had us at 37% free and reduced lunch. We're currently in this year on two different data sources, rocking 32% socioeconomically disadvantaged. Their unduplicated count is a little over 60, I believe. 65. 65? Yeah, so whichever numbers I pulled, we were still going to probably be on the lower end. But yeah, you may have been confused by the numbers because we've been talking a lot about being 40.
Well, and to see
Percent
NCS,
unduplicate.
I mean, and then to see NCS and MP3, both what I would consider somewhat substantially higher than us, also surprises me.
Well, MP3's, yeah, I've had a long
MP3's
history of,
always been,
yeah,
but to see NCS, yeah.
yeah, I was surprised by that too.
I was wrong.
Okay,
For
good.
the record,
Well,
that's
yeah.
what, I mean, I just wanted to like, it was
Yeah.
funny, because then as you went with student with disabilities, like, well, okay, so that one's out, because I know we're higher than 8.
Yeah.
But 11,
Yeah.
that flies,
Yeah.
and then we got to English language, that's when yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me dive into some academics. I really want to talk about our comparisons. I'm not sure who we compare it to, and so you'll see on the next slide, I do a couple different comparisons because I just couldn't really decide. So let's dive in. So here's our comparing our local schools, K-12, if we consider them local schools, on English language arts, and I put all 5 comparable schools across there and their performance scores. You can see some outliers. Certainly, I think NB3 outperforms everybody in this matrix in English language arts, but really again in math, absolutely top notch. Now they've been gold ribbon high school for over a decade, and so we're a brand new high school trying to figure our way out, and that's okay. I take a look at the cohort average being 46 across this whole cohort, and I go, okay, fine, you're above average across the cohort. I take out Black Oak and Durham because I just don't know that they compare. I was playing with them as comparisons. I think NUSD's our closest comparison, but when you put numbers against each other, you go, well, we're highly outperforming them. We don't totally look like these guys, but if you just take them as our local Natomas cohort, you go 59, and you go, okay, we're average between these guys and this group here. Similarly in math, you're going to see the rankings across here. You can see this is a much tighter cluster, except for a bit of, certainly an outlier here, but the cohort average comes out at 39, but when you take out the other two, so we're like 1 point over average, then we go to 1 point below average when you take these two out here. So we knew coming in where we were, we knew that we were a 59-40 as a school, but putting them on a comparison chart is worth looking at, right? Before we go into the next slides, just any thoughts, any questions, any wonderings, any ahas? And I look at MP3 and I'm competitive. I get a little jealous and go, okay, what are we doing? They have a very strong, long-standing PLC culture. I've been talking tonight about our PLC and the work that we're doing there. A decade from now, I wonder,
Last year was the first year of the new K-5 math adoption, correct? Or is it 2 years ago now?
Yeah, no, we did a pilot 2 years ago, and we had a K-5 math adoption last year. And, it's an inquiry-based math program, so it's tricky. I mean, kids are learning to learn math in a new way. And so you're not going to expect a math bump after 1 year. Could be 2 years, could be 3 years. What you're going to see is, you're going to say to these kids, like, okay, try and figure it out. And they're like, no, you're supposed to tell me how to do it. That's not what we're doing anymore. We're doing it this way now. And it's actually what these guys, I talked to Sharon Maccini, who's a fantastic leader of NP3, and we talked about math. Because when I went to the charter cohort at Sacramento County Office of Education, everybody was talking math, and everybody turned to NP3 and was like, what do you, because I was sitting next to Joe Wood, who's, they're sitting at 42, we're sitting at 40. We all looked at Sharon, we're like, what are you doing? We talked about this math adoption. There several years ahead of us on a math curriculum that they think is good, and you know, Joe Wood's 1 year ahead of us on a math adoption, but Sharon and NP3 are, you know, 5 years in and locked in. And they're CPM at the high school and have been for a long time and have thought about moving off, but they're like, we're not moving, you know?
And just for people to understand that, what's the difference?
Yeah, of CPM. I mean, CPM is a high school version of an inquiry-based mathematics where, you know, you really got to get the kids trying math that you haven't taught them yet because it leans on their mathematical foundations. So rather than learning procedural math because I said so, you're learning math because you understand math facts. I feel a little embarrassed speaking about this in front of an expert in the room over there, but she'll be on the board next month, and she can explain it all do better than I can. But yeah. So,
It's meant for people to understand, because a lot of times I think maybe parents or people at home picture a very traditional sort of
Yeah.
high school math program.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to take that opportunity
Yeah.
to sort of highlight what is really a key difference
Yeah.
to how I think math was traditionally taught back
do you
in
ever
the
teach
old days.
CPM? Yeah. I know some of the schools and classes do it. What's funny about it is that they are not an integrated mathematics school. They still do algebra, geometry, algebra 2, trig, calc. But they use CPM. So like they're their own version of weird too. So, okay. I just want to flash back a little bit because I was really scratching on where we've been and where we're going, and it was 2019. I remember sitting on the admin team. I remember Sally we had just finished so much good work, common assessments, standards-based grading. We were on the move. PLCs were just starting to gel because we had all of our common assessments, and we were scoring as high as we'd ever scored, and we'll see that next. But our demographics also were on the shift. We were pushing in 2019 to look more like our district, right? And look, we did some really good work, somewhat shifting the demographics here. I did go back to free and reduced lunch because back then we weren't using SCD.
I'm still surprised to see it
Yeah.
lower. I'm just saying.
Well, we have a little bit of a. It's interesting. This number actually is free and reduced lunch for this year, and also matches our SED, which is strange because I would assume we have more than, you would think you have more. So I think we have a little bit of a data anomaly there. But we also, what's happened is we've had a big drop off in the amount of free and reduced lunch applications. So we can't get people to fill out the application because they get free lunch anyway. So you don't need to fill it out regardless. I think it's an interesting shift though, right? I mean, you shifted, to double digits in African American. We've slightly increased Hispanic, slightly decreased in Asian, slightly decreased in our white students and our students with disabilities. So I think that's interesting. But look at these scores. So we were a 63-53. We came down only 4 points in all those years in English language arts, but 13 points in math, and we know 5 of those points were just this year. That's interesting. Okay, well, let's take a look at some achievement gap work because we want to look at this every time. Before I go forward, any general comments, thoughts, questions, concerns, anything I can answer about the data?
No, just to point out, I like that you highlighted the fact that, like, the free reduced lunch form isn't mandatory, it was
Yeah.
never mandatory, but it was a lot more potentially beneficial.
Sure.
Before, and so, you're right, it creates a certain data hole that you wouldn't have had in 2019 that you have now.
Yeah, for sure.
Are there any other potential data holes that, I mean, there's like a missing intervening year, right? I just want to make sure there's anything
Sure.
else you should highlight that might.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the missing data is that creating a comparison chart is somewhat foolish because no two schools compare. I mean, they're just so unique, you know. So we should probably not do this. We should probably focus on us. Hey, we are scoring at this level, and we want to score at a different level. I always do the comparisons because I think we're we're a school of choice, and we should try to remain competitive. But it's hard to compete. You're not playing on an even playing field. You're not comparing apples and apples.
Well, and the charter certificate, that's not a non-comparison item
Well,
either, right?
What's
So-
funny is, and I'll unpack it in a bit, but like,
Sorry.
charter renewal is not based on the percentage of students who meet or exceed. Charter renewal is based on the color chart. The color chart is also not based on who meets and exceeds. The color chart is based on a numeric value where each student produces a singular scale score, and those scale scores are combined to create a macro score. And that means that if I'm a kid who didn't meet standard, I still contribute to the whole. I brought 100 points to the table, you met standard, you brought 400 points to the table, you exceeded standard, you brought 500 points to the table. But together, we all brought those points to the table, and that's how we get our color chart. So I go over these ad nauseum because I think we're all interested to know what percentage of students are meeting or exceeding standards, but that's not what will be evaluated on when it comes to charter renewal or the dashboard.
But
So-
you totally could ask this at an NUSD board meeting, we go in May and we present our.
100%, this is the
it's
common
all part.
metric.
Yeah, it's
This-
all part.
This is the common metric, yeah, for sure. Let's take a look at the achievement gap because it says in the charter that it was something we love to do, and I think it is interesting. Let's look at 2023. So this is like this is a year old. This is not the 24, but let's just set the context. Here's English language arts for the whole state of California, and this is their horizontal or across this way achievement gap. 30% of the students, African American students, met or exceeded standards. 61% of the white students met. So they have a 31-point achievement gap. Everybody with me on that? Super duper. So now we go down to Westlake Charter School. We could create a horizontal achievement gap as well. We could do the same thing. The reason we don't do that is because we want to compare our African American students to a benchmark at the state, because if we wanted to, we could put Black Oak right here or NUSD right here and see, are our African American students outperforming the African American students of another institution when compared to this? So do we have a smaller achievement gap than another organization? So our achievement gap is the difference or the delta between this 44% and this 61%, which means our achievement gap is 17 points. Does that make sense? So that was it in 23. It got a little bigger in 24. Why? Potentially?
The first year of high school testing.
Yeah, potentially. So up here, we can see our African American students went from 44 down to 41, and the state white students also went down by a point, and so that created a couple of points of variance, right? So that's English language arts, where we're performing pretty well. You can see that in English language arts, our African American students continue to outperform the state, as do our Hispanic students, our white students. Our English language learners are flat there. Our socioeconomically disadvantaged and our students with disabilities all outperform the state. In math, our white students and our Asian students fall behind the state in this 2024. Let's take a look. Here's our 2023 baseline of a 27-point gap between our African American students and the white students at the state. Everybody sees that? And here comes 2024, where we again have a 2-point growth in the achievement gap because the white students at the state of California went up a point and our African American students went down a point, and that makes 2 points. As noted before though, like, we're still outperforming the state here and here, but not here anymore. And barely there, and still there. But that's interesting, right? That is an interesting. We gotta focus on math, right? We gotta focus, and we got people who want to do it. So we're working on it.
I don't want to break it down too far, but it seems like most groups fell. I mean, it makes sense because our scores went down, right? But like the only white students increased year over year in English and math
In this particular cycle.
in this data set. That's
Yeah.
just this one.
Yep. There's our
trying to figure it out.
65-71, and there's our 45-47. Yep.
Right?
And what's interesting about this is if you guys recall, and I'll bring it up a little bit later, on our LP, our English Language Proficiency score, we had more students move over on the LP this year, which is good because we were a red and now we're going to hopefully get to yellow on our way to green. And yet our English learners fell pretty dramatically in math and English. So on CASP, they performed more poorly, but on the LP, they performed better. Interesting.
But if you do a good job of testing, do you test out of this? Like if you,
CASP, oh, what are you asking?
yeah, like this is my non-educator,
Yeah.
right? And so if you have a bunch of people like test,
Oh, they reclassify?
reclassified, sorry for the
yeah.
word. So then, I'm just wondering, like, if you, like, because you didn't do a bunch of reclassifications the year before, did they potentially
Yeah,
provide false bump?
yeah, right.
Sorry, I can't help it.
No, it's good. I love it. It's we're all
It's not
playing
like
with the
how you
data.
Classify, it's how you classify anything,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So interesting. It's just interesting to keep our eye on the achievement gap, horizontally and vertically. Our African American students are underperforming the white students, and the work we've been launching this year with Dr. Shraki Hawley, helps to eliminate bias and help us work on ensuring that our students are validated and affirmed in our schools. I think we do a good job of that, but I think there is a piece of Dr. Hawley's work that says, hey, the only reason we're doing this is to get at achievement. The only reason we want to be culturally competent is so that we can increase achievement. So let's not stop at competence and validation and affirmation. Let's not stop there. Let's then take that and go, so now let's get to some math, right? And I think we're working on that. I did these two. So let's go to NWA to find out how the scores now are predicting going forward. Don't worry, they're bad. They get worse. Here it comes. It's not great. I'm not kidding. I'm trying to lighten the mood. It's like, so we know these are nationally norm reference scaled scores, and students scoring above the 61st percentile are predicted to meet standard on CASP. These fall scores have been very predictive of CASP over the last 5 years. You look at the fall score, it's very predictive of CASP. You look at the winter score, which is closer to CASP, for whatever reason, there's always a winter dip. Not predictive, but the fall one is. So we would note that like the 2024 fall scores include the current fourth grade students who were kindergartners during COVID. Why do we hang a hat on that? Because I think it says it on the next slide, but the fourth and third graders in this last CASP round, you think it's the 11th grade that's deflating scores? The 3, 4, 5 right now are the big target for our team. You look at middle school bending the data, and in the past, the middle schools like caught the data. Like they'd come in here and like, just hold them up, middle school. Like just hold them up. Don't let them deflate in middle school. But now you have the middle school bending the data, which is fascinating. So, and this is not the third, fourth, fifth grade team's work. It is the cohort that came in COVID and the work we needed to do to bend them back up, and we just haven't got there yet. We also are including the 11th grade prediction for the first time. So this is the first time you looked at NWA with 11th grade as a predictor right here. So whereas last year reading was a 48.9, you're at a 45.9, which is down 3. Same thing in math, down 3.5 this fall from last fall. So we know last fall you're a 49 in reading and you got a 59 on CASP. Where does a 46 get you? Probably doesn't get you a 61. Not by itself. So I'll tell you some of the things we're doing. I think most of it's going to speak more to math than English right now, quite obviously. But we are doing some work to make sure that we try to bend this data going forward. Because here's the math scores, right? 38 got you 40. What's 34 going to get you, right? So, I'm trying not to end on doom and gloom. I've been thinking about this data a lot. This is what we've been doing. So let's consider where we are in the 24-25. The 3 cohorts most impacted by COVID will be included in this year's test. These third graders, you just saw their NWA scores. So the 4, 5, 6, who we've been tracking, these third graders were not in kindergarten during COVID, but they may have been houses, where people were working from home. They may or may not went to preschool. Third grade is going to be added to the data set. The second grade data right now is not included in this NWA data, and second grade actually and first grade and kindergarten are looking like the bubble behind them. We can't wait. We got to help the kids who are here now, but there is hope behind them. So these cohorts are in the most need for interventions. I got to tell you, we have more robust interventions than I think we've ever had, and we're gonna have to just keep it up and keep pushing. Some of our lowest performing cohorts this year were those ones right there. So that's where we're putting the effort. So here's the response to the analysis, right? Last year in the 23-24, our interventions for phonics and math groups on the 3-5 side didn't start until November. It's kind of a tumultuous year. I remember Mr. Siemens left us that time. He was in charge of the intervention groups. It really wasn't until January where some of the lower grades even got into the intervention groups. This year they started in August. So we know that when time on task bends the data, and so we hope that this year's intervention starting earlier is going to get us more time on task to help more kids. We also know that PLC teams have run at the K-8 protocols for CASP, NWA, local assessments, and EL. You might think, so what? Well, so what? If a teacher doesn't know that his 22 kids, this one, this one, this one, and this one, are far below, then they're not able to plan for that. As of right now, today, August 17th, all of our teachers have run pretty in-depth analysis. Is it the 17th?
It's October,
What did I say?
August.
Let's start over. Let's go back to August 17th. I saw you make a face. I'm like, it is October 17th because it's the earthquake day. I know that.
It's earthquake
Yeah.
day, but you said August.
I said August.
So,
Yeah.
yes, Amber and
I would like an extra couple months, not of work, but of time to catch these kids up. I mean, we're working so hard. So you look, as of right now, I mean, our teaching teams are prepared with the knowledge that they need to do the work, and so we're hoping that's going to help us bend the trend. We are experimenting with some Tier 2 math interventions for our youngest cohort. There is an online platform protocol that we're implementing. There is some new math groupings that we're trying to implement. We are exploring with these ideas. Second grade's running an experiment around Explorer blocks, which is the flex blocks from the high school, but they're for second graders. It's going to look a little different than the high school. But it is like saying, hey, if we know that the game isn't trying to get your middle group kids up to the met or exceeded, but that every point matters, then you break the 5 groups of kids into 5 groups and give everybody what they need, where they need it, at the level they need it, and your high kids will get higher and your low kids will get higher, right? So we got that interesting experiment going on there. We're talking about doing some incentivization of math interventions for students. If you spend time on the math program, maybe there's some popsicle parties, some rewards, some things for the kids. Again, these AI-driven math tools will meet each kid where they are. So if I can get the kid who's like met standard but not exceeded to go up 5 points, that's still 5 points on the dashboard, right? We want to engage in a little more targeted test preparation. We're talking about the IABs, and we're talking about, is part of it that we just are not a real test-driven school. We don't love that. We're more into joyful learning. That's our jam. Maybe there's a middle ground where we talk a little more earlier and more formatively about like the importance of this exam and how this exam functions and what we need our students to do on this exam. Maybe some test preparation leaning in that direction helps us. And then Everest Academy targeting behavior. Let's be honest, in grades 3 through 5, there's more behavior happening 3 through 5 right now than in years past. You can ask the dean. And so really getting our learning environments settled will help with learning. universal design for learning, and then strategies for English learners. All of that we believe will help. Predictions. We're not going to predict our dashboard results tonight. We're going to come back next month and do that. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the dashboard and its colors. As you'll recall, the colors are assigned based on two factors. There is the performance. Are you very low, low, medium, high, or very high? Based on those numbers that I talked about. I brought 100 points, you brought 300 points, she brought 500 points, then we average it all out, and then you get these point systems over here, right? Are you very low, low, medium, or high? And growth over time. Are you moving up? Well, then you're going to move over this way. Are you moving down? Then you're going to move over this way, right? So our analysis is like, look, we've just seen a year-over-year decline. We're going to probably move this way in math, right? We're not going to predict out loud, but it could be yellow, it could be orange. Here's what's critical for us to recognize. These color-coded dials are a part of our 2028 charter renewal. So our renewal will include dashboard results from 27, 26, and 25. 25 is this spring. So we will include 3 years of data in our charter renewal because we always include 3 years of data. We actually only need to include 2, but we've always done 3. So we're going to include 25, 26, and 27. The spring test this year will be our first data point in our charter renewal. So if we can get some growth and then next year's dashboard shows some growth, that's the first data point in our charter renewal. And if we could do it again the next year, we could actually end up in a place where we're in the high track, and I'll show you that. Because schools with all academic categories in green or blue for 2 years are eligible for high track renewals. As you will know, high track renewal means that your school can't be denied a charter renewal and is potentially eligible for a 7-year renewal as opposed to a 5-year renewal. 80% of all charter schools are on the middle track, 10% are in high track, 10% are in low track. So only a few people have hit the high track, but we'd like to try to be one of them by 28. I'm just going to show you this as a, this is where we are today. This is in 2023. This is the current data that's up there. It's about to shift in December, and I'm going to guess on what it is. But if we're green, remember we were red and LP, and we don't have college and career indicators yet because no one's graduated. I'll talk to you in June, right? If in 24 the worst thing happens, green, orange, right? I don't think we would go to red, but let's just play worst case scenario. If we go green, orange, and LP looks like it's going to turn to yellow, and we still, I guess we will have career indicators in 24. No, we won't. We won't have them in 24, right? But go forward to 25. This is that first time, this is the first data we're going to see on our charter renewal. I would think if we were orange, we could grow to yellow. I would think if we were yellow, we could grow to green. And I would assume our college career indicator will be green because of our dual enrollment practices and our A to G graduation, right? So, okay, that's 25. If we went from there to 26 and 27, you could propose everything moving in the right direction and be all greens, and in 27, write your charter, include these 2 years of data, and be on the high track for renewal and have a 7-year renewal. So I've spent an hour doom and glooming about where we are. I'm going to sunshining it up about where I hope we could go starting now. The principals have both asked me to present a version of this report to our teaching staff so that we all get on the same page. This is by no means a gotcha, and no one's doing anything wrong. But I think we all need to be on the same page about where we're going and why it's important that we go there together. So, that said, are there any questions, thoughts, or concerns regarding the academic report? No thoughts at all?
I have a thought.
Yeah.
So, we used to put, it seems like more focus on, as a board and as an organization, on increasing our socioeconomic disadvantaged learners. And it seems like we're behind in that, and I just don't, are we still looking at ways to increase that? What are we doing in that regard in addition to working with the scores? I just don't wanna lose focus on that, focusing on scores as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you wanna put them together, you wanna separate them? Are they two separate things, or are you talking about how they
I guess
interrelate?
all in all, I just don't wanna lose sight of increasing our free and reduced lunch and socioeconomic disadvantaged learners
Yeah,
while we're increasing the scores.
yeah, yeah. I think that in the way you contextualize it, there are two very separate, things. So, we'll continue to do outreach, and work toward diversifying our student population. However, a part of the overall outreach, while it has been targeting socioeconomically disadvantaged students, because that is the indicator that has always been, included in our charter preferences, the rhetoric in the boardroom at the Thomas Unified School District has really been regarding making sure that we mirror the diversity of the district. And that is ethnic, racial, linguistic, and socioeconomic, and I would say the neurodiversity as well. And I would say that while it may seem like we flattened out here, or that there's some indicator that thinks maybe we're behind on that, I would say that this particular pattern right here is, if you go, that's 2019. If you go back to 2012 when I got here, I mean, we were 12% free and reduced lunch. 12. And we were, I think, 29% Caucasian and 30% Asian. And so I think, we've really outreached to make sure that African American, Hispanic, student with disability, I think those populations are growing appropriately. But I think the call is clear. Yeah, let's make sure we continue to, match the diversity of the district socioeconomically. I will scratch on the data a little bit, because I have confused the audience tonight with, here's socioeconomic disadvantage, here's free and reduced lunch, and then here is unduplicated count as well. So I think there is a little bit of a data hole around that free and reduced price lunch piece. So I'll scratch on that and bring it back to us to make sure we're targeting that.
Yeah, because, well, no, I don't think as a board we can ever lose sight of it, because it's a charter commitment. But to John's point, our commitment is to try to look like the district. We're never gonna match every number.
Right.
And because we're a school of choice, we do only have so much control, right? And we've done lottery adjustments in the past to try to get at it. We've been very open to that. But to John's earlier point, and what I call the data hole, which is not a great way of referring to that, I come up with these awful terms. We can sprinkle something on it too. It's hard to do that comparison, right? Because, and I think it's fabulous. We should be feeding our kids, right? It was the right step to do.
Oh,
No, I know. But in doing that and the way we've done it, it means that we don't get data we used to get. And how we balance that and how we report that to our authorizer, right, will be on us and how we phrase it. But I don't think it's like a shortcoming or anything, and not that you've said this, but just to make it clear that anything that's happened that's caused this, as much as just the organic shift over time.
It does impress upon me how important it is that we collect those forms, because it may just be that our schools down the street did a better job of collecting those forms, and we could be off by 5 data points, and that, when we compare ourselves up here, those 5 data points matter. When you say, hey, I think your term was, you thought maybe we were falling behind, so I think you might be referring to like this line here, and you go, well, give me 5 points and you're not really falling behind. So yeah, it's good. It's a good question.
And I didn't mean to harp on that so much earlier in the evening. It was just when we were playing the game, again, my competitive nature, I thought for sure I'd get it. And in some ways, for me not to is a good wake-up call, though, to coming here and listening to John and making sure that, I store that data and I continue to learn.
Yeah. Anything else on academics, demographics? Cool.
I'm not sure I could have learned math that way. I'll
Okay.
acknowledge it. I mean, I would have, I'm so happy we're doing it young, right? Like, there's no, and that we're the school we are, because you have to be okay to fail in that scenario, right? You have to be okay with the imperfect. And just hearing you talk about it, it really fits our program.
Yeah.
And so, I don't want to lose sight of us either. Like, scores are important, certainly reauthorization is important, but we've made certain commitments in how we're going to do things, and I don't envy you and the staff having to balance what we've been driven to do as part of our program, to have the joyful learning at the same time trying to meet, some colors that I feel like are always shifting. So
Yep.
education is never getting easier.
Yeah, we got some good work cut out for us for sure. It is a little, the dashboard itself. I mean, I'm not sure that science isn't going to end up on there. And so I'm like, okay, there's another moving target that we'll have to figure out on the fly, as it reports. But that's the work. It will be done. Any other questions about academics? All righty. Back to you, Hope.
Before we take consent, can we do one more check for public
Sure.
comment? Strangely, this is our last item for tonight.
So it looked like a short agenda.
But I knew it wasn't, which is, when I told governance earlier that I had purposely brain farted out goals for tonight, because I knew this was going to be a very meaty and not the easiest topic, and so being able to sit with it and process would probably be good. And there's no public comment. So that brings us to our consent agenda. We have 5 items on tonight. Happy to take any questions. Otherwise, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Thanks, Josh. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Hope,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
forgot what meeting we were in. Josh,
Yes.
Amber,
Yes.
Suzanne.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, and welcome, Sally, to the board.
All right. Hey, Sally Hubbard.
So just for quickly under future agenda items, hopefully we'll have a goal discussion next month for all the committees, the board, and for John. The CSSP,
Comprehensive School Safety Plan.
CSSP, academics and acronyms, I tell you. We will have a safety committee meeting likely in November and December, so we can have that back before the board in January and February. Like I mentioned during my governance committee report, there'll be 2 policies on next month for action. And we do have an open board seat, so governance is working on next steps for that position. Anything else, future agenda item-wise, you want to?
The first interim around the corner?
That's till December.
Oh, we're a whole month away. That's right. That's right. It's not August? No.
See, nothing, reflection. What worked well? What of it would be better if? No prize for going first, but, you'll get my affection.
I'll go.
Thank you, Sean. I like you.
Thanks.
There's affection,
I like
affection
everybody.
delivered.
So I like data. I may not like less good data as much as I like better data, but data is good. Having
Yeah.
information is good because it gives you a place from which to start, where you know where you are. You can't go where you're going if you don't know where you're starting. And
Yeah.
so I thought that your presentation, John, was enlightening.
Thank you.
Suzanne, sorry, Amber.
I really appreciated hearing about Everest again, and we know that research shows that quality instruction and a way to make sure that instruction is quality is what's gonna move schools forward, and you guys are doing that, and so even though some of that data looks frustrating or depressing, you guys have the pieces in place that I think are gonna continue to move Westlake forward, so.
I think so too.
Well, thank you for that.
Steve, you want to play?
Yeah, I'll play one. I think the data presentation was great. I think you mentioned something that finance has kind of wrangled with too, particularly around the creation of the matrices, right?
Yeah.
And how at the end of the day, really each LEA, each independent entity is its own entity, right?
Yeah.
And so how you like to compare numbers and things like that, again, at the end of the day, but yeah, right on, key point. And with finance, yeah, we need to look at that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very relevant.
Josh?
I just like discussion. You
Me
can
too.
make, like, I didn't necessarily know how my comments fit together. You guys kind of figured it out.
Yeah, it's good, yeah.
And I also, just want to apologize to everybody for bringing a crock pot and talking about the chili cook-off on December 4th.
I love it.
So early, you guys were probably all hungry and craving chili the entire meeting, so
That's
I
right.
apologize.
We just kept staring at it.
For me, yes, it's right next to me, but watching the breeze go behind Steve's head the whole meeting.
Yeah, it's a little windy out
Because
there.
it's really windy out there. Has made me think warm
It's
comfort.
a little chilly, isn't it?
It's a little
It's a little
chilly.
chilly. Can I tell just a real quick story?
You can?
So, I have a child 2 time zones away, right, in college, and it's totally, I'm sorry for the people out there stuck listening to the story, but it was funny. So I often wake up to texts now, right, because she starts class at 8 a.m., so 6 a.m. our time, and she's been up and going for a while. And I wake up to this flag, and only a flag, in my text. I just could not figure it out. So I'm like, at this point at 6 in the morning, I'm Googling emoji flags. Like, okay, what does she
What
mean?
is this? Yeah.
And then I finally figured out it was a map of Chile. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. And she's like, you don't get it. I was like, I do get it. How's those freezing temperatures, kiddo?
Oh,
love
it's
that.
chilly.
It's chilly. So I had to share.
I like
Sorry.
that. I like that.
And her dad's just like, and we joke that this is something she got from Westlake, right? Because she knew, right, to go to that flag and to share it. And it's a weird way to say global learning, but I'm going to take it.
I'll take it.
My reflection, though, is something you shared in governance, and I think our consent action, Sally, to put you on the board tonight, shows it, is that we really, as an organization, that's one of our key things, is keeping the board going in between having a staff election process, having governance committee to look at new members, to having members of the public on our committees. Like, you're seeing that work of us coming forward. And so the more we come prepared and we do these actions, I think the more we are thriving. And no matter what challenges I think the school faces, if you want to call them challenges, I think we are well situated between the admin team and this board of meeting them.
Yeah, strong governance. It's a little boring, but it's like critical. And I think right now the governance of this board is stable, strong. So yeah, and it shows in the actions. What worked well for me tonight, when I got the slide about, well, what do we compare to? Several of you were willing to lean in and be right or wrong, Discussion is everything. The board doesn't inherently come here to listen to me. We come here to listen to you. So it's really important for me to hear you notice on that slide who we do and don't compare to. So thank you. That's what works well for me. Because if you notice it, then I know it's important to you, and I take that into consideration, on what I bring back. So engagement and discussion, even in a long-winded presentation, is really important. That's what works well for me. AW, you want to play?
Yeah.
What worked well? What would work better if? Snacks?
Snacks would have been good. Yeah, coffee. I could have used some coffee tonight. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I'm just tired. So I could have used some coffee tonight. But your discussions are always super fruitful for this board and helps them to make those good decisions that keep us moving forward. So I appreciate all the work that you put into this.
There we go. Tuesday?
So I think we flew through consent, but I think there were some wonderful things on consent, including Sally's appointment and the graduation information and schedule of activities. Which
Yeah.
I was really excited to see. June 3rd, we will graduate our first class, so I'm excited.
Yeah, super
That's
cool.
Good to
Super
get that
cool.
information out there.
I get my robes in order.
It's 228 days away.
Is it?
It was 228 days, 18 hours right before the board meeting. I got a little countdown up there.
I always feel like we should have
I love
Kahikas'
it.
countdown running. for
Yeah,
the
right.
meeting
Is
on
it up
next
there?
year.
Countdown.
Should add a slide for that.
I lost it. I don't know where it is
It's
now.
okay. With that, I thank you for hearing my story. I appreciate it. We can adjourn at 8:09.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Doodaloo, doodaloo, doodaloo.
It really took me far too long to find that flag.